Welcome back to Toffee Booze, your source for all things Everton. I'm Ollie Hayes, and today I'm here to bring you the preview for our trip to the Amex to face Brighton and Hove Albion. So let's get straight into it. Obviously, we know it's going to be a tough game. The first away game of David Moyes' return to the football club. Obviously, after Sean Dyche lost his job the other week. Under Sean Dyche, we did have some good memories at the Amex. Namely the 5-1, and then also a decent point last season. But we'll get into that, further on in the video. But we'll start with Brighton in this one. They seem to be finding a little bit of form now. They seem to be back in the hunt for Europe, which is why I anticipate quite a difficult game in this one. They did go through a little bit of a dip where they weren't losing games, but they didn't seem to be getting many wins. They seem to be getting points consistently. Just 1 point here, 1 point there. So yeah, I think that's why I'm anticipating quite a difficult game in this one, and because they do seem to be putting these results together now. Obviously, coming off the back of a very good win at Old Trafford last weekend, a 3-1 win there, going to a tough place, which is Old Trafford. I know it's probably not as tough as it was in recent years, but that being said, Manchester United away is a tough game to go to, and they came out on top of that. So it shows that they're a good opponent. They're going to be difficult to play against, especially away from home for us. But you've got to look at their key men, for example. João Pedro is one that will spring up so many times. Obviously, he's a top player in my opinion. Played his trade at Watford for all those years, and then now doing really well for Brighton as well. I know he was very prolific in their European stint last year, and also Kairo Matoma. He's a player that we can't ignore. His ability on the ball, his dribbling, his direct running. You do worry in an Everton sense that the pace that we do have at fullbacks, obviously Vitaly Mikalenko, and whether it be Ashley Young or Jake O'Brien, Seamus Coleman, whoever plays there, they don't really have the pace to match Matoma. So whether we have to be smarter in how we set up, that does remain to be seen. But Matoma himself, he does seem to be finding a little bit of form once again. Obviously he was in great form last season and in the season before as well, in his breakout time in England. But no, 2 goals, 1 assist in his last 2 games. Obviously, a goal at Old Trafford as well, and an assist. So, it shows that he is putting a decent run together. And Brighton are now unbeaten since the 15th of December. So again, it all points to the fact that our opponents on Saturday are going to be a difficult test. It is going to be a difficult test for David Moyes, and it's going to be interesting to see how we set up. But as I said earlier in the video, we do have a very good record at the Amex. Especially under Sean Dyche, we did have a very good record. And now, a lot of people will have fond memories of that 5-1 game where Dwight McNeil scored. We were 1-0 up within, I think it was 30, 40 seconds. I remember being the away end that day. I was actually going into the game similar to how I was feeling now, a quiet bit of optimism, but, knowing that Brighton are a very difficult team to play and a strong opponent. But in that game, in that afternoon, we were absolutely fantastic. So if we can replicate anything like we did in that afternoon, I'll be pleasantly surprised, but also very happy because, it means that we can really give them a good game. But that being said, last season as well, we were 1-0 up for so long in that game, and but for a Lewis Dunk header in the last minute, which beat Jordan Pickford, we would have come away with 3 very good points there from the Amex. Obviously, a great goal from Jared Branthwaite finding the top corner, and it does seem to be a place where we do consistently get results. Obviously, even under the lights of Rafa Benitez, and then even before that, we do seem to have a very decent record there. I think only under Marco Silva was the one where Michael Keane had that dodgy penalty given against him, and Neil Maupay scored. I think off the top of my head, that's the only time we've been beaten there, which I can think of. So, that's stretching back a while that we've got a decent record there. But, focusing on us now, how we performed against Spurs, if we replicate that in any way, shape or form, I thought we were magnificent. If we replicate that and recreate it going into the Brighton game, I'll be very pleased. We all got stuck in a little bit of a rut, didn't we, towards the end of Sean Dyche's tenure. Me personally as well, I'll say this, I didn't want to go to football. It was boring. It was turgid football. We'd all lost faith in Dyche, and there was no real enjoyment of watching Everton. And after that Spurs game and the Villa game to some extent, certainly after the Spurs game, it feels to me like Moyes has instilled a little bit of enjoyment back into going the football, and that's just what we want as Evertonians. David Moyes does massively get us as a fan base. We know what kind of football we want to see. We know that we want to have results on the pitch, and we know we want to be back up and amongst the big boys. So hopefully David Moyes can continue that and still even more enjoyment in the football. But as I said before, the way we played in games leading up to Sean Dyche's dismissal, it was just really turgid. But yeah, that Spurs game, how we played, if we can recreate anything like that, I'll be massively, happy. And I do think if we did replicate that a little bit, we would be able to take the game to Brighton. But I do expect us to be a little bit more reserved going into this one. Obviously, with Spurs, they do like to play out from the back. They like to invite pressure, which it's something that they seem to be not very good at, is playing out from the back, and they do it so much. And Brighton play a similar kind of football. They play a similar style, but I do expect us to be a little bit more reserved with us being away from home. And obviously, Brighton do have that just a little bit more quality on the ball than Tottenham did, in my opinion. So I do expect us to be a little bit more reserved in how we set up. Maybe a similar situation with Lindstrom as the right wing back, and Jake O'Brien playing as that right back, centre back hybrid kind of thing. But no, I was really pleased with how Moyes set us up. It was a little bit different. It gave Jesper Lindstrom freedom to move. So if he plays anything like he did against Spurs on Sunday, and recreates that performance against Brighton, I'll be massively surprised. But I'll also be very happy, because it means that he's creating chances, getting into decent positions, and it seems to me like Moyes has unlocked a little bit of a player in Jesper Lindstrom. So again, I do expect it to be a tough game. I'll go into my prediction now. Obviously, a lot of people will be riding a little bit of a wave after the Spurs game, maybe thinking that we can go there and get 3 points. And I think there's every chance we can do, but I'm going to be a little bit more reserved in my prediction, and say 1-1, and go with the same score as last year. Whether it's the same, kind of outcome, and the way that the game plays out is the same as last year, I'm not so sure, but I do think we will be a little bit more reserved, maybe go behind and then pull it back with an Illiman and Jai wonder goal like we saw against Spurs. But yeah, again, I do think it's going to be a little bit of a different game to last year. Obviously, we set up very defensively, in that 1-1 draw, and kind of held on. Got a lucky set piece, and it fell to Jared Branthwaite, who finished so well. And we did hold on to the very dying embers, and unfortunately, didn't manage to get the 3 points. But I expect it to be a little bit of a different game this year, maybe a little bit more open. But that's my prediction. What I'm going to go for is 1-1. Let me know your thoughts, and let me know your predictions in the comments. Obviously, some people, as I said before, might be riding a little bit of a wave, and hoping we can go and get all 3 points. There's every chance, and I'm really hoping we can do. But I've gone a little bit more reserved in my prediction. But that is all from me today for my preview for Brighton versus Everton on Saturday afternoon. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.